Hello everyone. Today's topic is fetal circulation. It is one of the topic in pediatric nursing. So the first we define what is fetal circulation. The name fetal circulation consists of two names is there, that is fetus, and another one is circulations. In circulation you know that the oxygenated blood or the nutritious rich in nutrition blood goes to the organ, and the organ that excrete the carbon dioxide, that is deoxygenated blood, move through the blood for the further purifications, that is the circulations. And what is fetus? Fetus is the unborn baby, that is the baby that is present in the womb is called fetus. Exactly, the definition is that fetus is just after fertilization, when the fertilizations occur between the egg cell and the sperm cells, the multiples, the cell division takes place. It is the time of 8 weeks of the gestation period or the 8 weeks of the pregnancy. From that to birth of the baby is called, the period is called the fetus. Okay, so what is fetus? Fetus is the 8 week of gestation or the after the fertilization of the egg cell and the sperm cells. The 8 weeks, from the 8 weeks to birth of the baby, the period is called fetus. Okay, so fetal circulation is the topic. The major, first we have to know about few points from on the basis the blood circulation takes place in the fetus. If the fetus in the fetus, the total process is carried out by the placenta, the lungs and the liver is non-functional condition of the fetus. So the major role play by the placenta. So placenta is the unique vascular organ. Okay, it is vascular. Reach of blood supply is to the from the maternal point to the placenta is go through this placenta to the fetus. Okay, so what happened in this placenta? The umbilical arteries, see, this is arteries. I have written arteries. If there are two arteries. Arteries to carry deoxygenated and the nutrient depleted fetal blood. As you see, this is the umbilical. This is the umbilical artery that carry deoxygenated blood from the fetus to the umbilical cord, and after exchange of carbon, oxygen and nutrient, umbilical vein carries oxygenated blood. After the here the number of vascular cells are present in the placenta, so the deoxygenated blood carried by the umbilical arteries goes to the placenta. Here exchange takes place, and again the umbilical, that is red in color, the umbilical vein carry oxygenated blood to the through the umbilical cord to the for the fetus. So as he on the way he is going to the fetus, fetal heart, he goes through the margin of the liver, not going inside the liver. It's go on the margin of the liver, and that place he give some branch to give one of the branch to the liver for supply of blood for the growth of the fetus liver. Okay, then rest of the blood that is carried to the towards the towards going to the heart. It's also mixture of gases takes place. In the lower part is carrying the inferior vena cava. So this, from this inferior vena cava, the blood is, that is deoxygenated blood carried through from the lower part of the body is there is an intermix of the blood with the blood of the placental blood that is carried by the umbilical vein. So this intermixtion, this place is called ductus venosus. Okay, so why it is ductus venosus? Name is why venosus? Is there is a connections between two veins. Here is the umbilical vein, and this is the inferior vena cava. There is a communication between the two veins, so it is named as ductus venosus. Next, when it goes to the blood is now moved to the right atrium. Again, in the right atrium, there is a pressure of the blood in the atrium side. So due to the pressure, the blood moves from the right atrium towards the left atrium by the opening that is present in the fetus only. The opening that is called foramen ovale. Okay, this foramen ovale is an opening between the right atrium and the left atrium. Okay, so the blood that is carried by the umbilical vein enter into the right atrium, and the blood, the 75%, the majority of the blood, that is 75% of blood, now move to the, due to the pressure, it's moved to the, through this foramen oval towards left atrium. Okay, if the left, it reaches to the left atrium, it directly moves to the left ventricle, and on by the contraction of the left ventricle, this blood that is the oxygenated blood move to the aorta. This is the from where the systemic circulation is takes place. Okay, so this from the left ventricle, blood is forced by the contraction process move to the aorta. From the aorta, it gives branches to different body parts, and from the arc of aorta, there is subclavian artery and common catheter that supply blood to brain, neck, axilla region. That's from that they get the blood. The upper part is get the blood, and the rest of the blood is moved through the descending aorta. Now it is called descending, moving downward. Name is indicating that it is moving downward. That is descending aorta. Okay. That was next. We go to from the we left from this right atrium. If the right atrium, the 75%, I told the 75% blood goes to the left atrium, but next rest 25%. What happened about that? The rest 25% blood that move from the right atrium to right ventricle. Okay, and also the blood that is carried from the deoxygenated blood carried by the upper part of the body, that is the superior vena cava, that's also enter through this right atrium. It moves to the right ventricle. Okay. Now the ventricle, due to the ventricular contractions, the blood moves to the pulmonary trunk. Okay. So pulmonary trunks, against what is the role of the pulmonary trunk? It carries the deoxygenated blood towards lungs for the purification or the gaseous exchange. But here what happened? As it is a fetus, his lungs is non-functional. Is that they are, as in human body, the lungs is full with air sac, that is alveoli. But in here fetus, it is filled with mucus. Okay. So lots of mucus are there. So there is more resistance is there. Okay. So this blood, when it's moving to the pulmonary trunk, it's few of blood, very small amount of blood that goes to lungs. Okay. Due to the resistance, the whole blood cannot move to the lungs for purification, as there is more resistance in the on the lungs due to the absence of air sacs but presence of mucus. So the blood is shunt. Shunt means the bypass. As you know, when you are going through a road, if there is any construction, there is a diversion is there. So we have to take another way for the movement. Like that, is due to the pressure, constant resistance pressure by the lungs, the blood move through a vessels, not an opening, that is vessels, through a vessels to the descending aorta. That opening, that where the opening is called ductus arteriosus. What is name as ductus arteriosus? Is the opening between the two artery. One is pulmonary artery and another one is the descending aorta. So that opening is named as ductus arteriosus. Then now the blood from the ductus arteriosus goes to the descending aorta. From the descending aorta, it provides blood, perfusion of the blood takes place on the lower part of the body, that is kidney and the leg, buttock region and the leg supply blood. In systemic circulation, you see the lower part of the body is supplied with internal iliac artery. From this internal iliac artery, the blood, now the two blood vessels are carried out, that is hypogastric, name is hypogastric artery. These two arteries from the left and the right, both sides, it's carried the deoxygenated blood that's carried through the hypogastric artery, and again it's mirrored with umbilical artery. Umbilical artery. As I told, the artery, there are two arteries. Okay, in the umbilical there are two artery and one vein. Okay, so now the hypogastric artery mirrors with umbilical artery and move to the umbilical cord. Through this umbilical cord, it goes to the placenta for the gaseous exchange or the exchange of the nutrient to provide. Again, the same process would be carried out. So this is all about the fetal circulations. And one interesting is that the placenta per minute supplies 600 to 700 ml of blood. 600 ml to 700 ml of blood per minute it's give to the fetus for the growth of the fetus. From the once again we discuss about the fetal circulation. Placenta plays a major role. From the placenta there is one umbilical vein, two arteries there. From the vein, this oxygenated blood that is rich in oxygen and nutrient that is carried from the mother sides. The placenta takes this blood from the placenta through this umbilical vein. It moves to the move through the margin of the liver and its mirrors means intermixing mirrors with the inferior vena cava. Then it's open, eject the blood to the right atrium. If there is lots of pressure in the right atriums, the blood stunt means bypass or the shortcut. He take a shortcut and it's directly moved to the left atrium. Okay. Again in the left atrium, it's when the chamber is full, then it's through the mitral valve, it's enter into the left ventricle, and if there is the contraction in the left ventricle, that blood is forced to move the aorta. Aorta is the first part in the systemic circulations. From this aorta, the blood supplied from the aorta, then arch of aorta and the descending aorta. From the arch of aorta, subclavian artery, carotid artery, these are the arteries supply blood to the upper region of our body, that is brain, neck and the axilla part. Okay, and rest of the blood moves to the descending aorta. So as I told, the 75% blood is going through the foramen ovale and the rest 25%. What happened about the rest 25%? This rest 25% that is present in the right atriums with the mixture of the blood, deoxygenated blood that is carried from the superior vena cava that enters to the left ventricle. Now as the same process by the contraction of the ventricle, the blood is forced to move to the pulmonary trunk. So from the pulmonary trunk, the role of the pulmonary trunk is to carry the blood for the lungs. So that is name is a pulmonary. So it's caused to take to the blood to the lungs, and there the exchange process takes place, and deoxygen is after the gaseous it is carried through the pulmonary vein. But what happens in the fetus? The lungs is non-functional. It's not working. Okay. So the air sac is not present there. That is filled with mucus. So there is more resistance. Due to the resistance, only little amount of blood that goes to the lungs. And the rest of the blood take a diversions or take a shortcut by air vessels. The vessels which take the diversions by these vessels. It's connected with the ductus artery. It's connected to the descending aorta. So this opening is called ductus artery. So as there is the opening between the two arteries, so its name is ductus arteriosus. Here I told the name is ductus venosus. As there is the opening between the two veins, one is portal vein and one is the inferior vena cava and the another one the umbilical vein. So if the blood is moved through the descending aorta, it supplies blood to the lower part of the body. The lower part, as usual, you know, in the systemic circulation, the lower part of the body is supplied by the internal iliac arteries. From this iliac artery, two branches are arises. That is called hypogastric artery. Ultimately, the hypogastric artery is called the umbilical artery. So in the umbilical cord, if you see the umbilical cord, there is one vein, umbilical vein, and two arteries are there. So these two hypogastric artery that is ultimately mirrors with umbilical artery again go through the umbilical cord to the placenta for further to taking this deoxygenated blood to the placenta for the gaseous exchange. Further the same process is repeated. So it is all about fetal circulations. Okay. Thank you. If you like the video, please